A decade ago, Dongguan was infamous as China's sex capital and celebrated as the world's factory. Today, its factories stand silent, its streets lie abandoned. At the same time, a darker story spreads online, claims that 7.5% of China's Gen Z may already be gone. Two stories, one city's collapse, one generation's disappearance, together opening a window into China's uncertain future. This is China Unfiltered. Before we dive into all of this, let us know in the comments where you're watching this video from. Connecting with viewers across the world is a huge source of inspiration for us. Inside China's sex capital, 500,000 workers, $7 billion empire. A decade ago, if you mentioned Dongguan to someone in China, the reaction was almost always the same. A smirk, a knowing look, and the whispered phrase, the sex capital of China. This wasn't an exaggeration. At its peak, Dongguan's underground sex industry was estimated to involve 300,000 to 500,000 people, from hostesses and service staff to those in related businesses. The annual economic impact was staggering, nearly 50 billion yuan, or about $7 billion US. Some reports suggested that 1 in 10 women working in the city was linked to the trade. The scale was so vast that in February 2014, Beijing launched a massive crackdown. Over 6,000 police officers stormed the city in one coordinated sweep. More than 2,000 entertainment venues, KTV lounges, massage parlors, hotels were raided or shut down in a matter of days. The move shocked the world. International media called it an unprecedented campaign and expressed astonishment at the sheer scale of Dongguan's sex industry. But ordinary Chinese were far less surprised. On Weibo, comments poured in, mocking, "Why bother with hidden cameras? Everyone already knows what Dongguan is." For years, the phrase Dongguan-style service had been an open secret, a euphemism everyone understood. The city's reputation as China's sex capital had long been part of its identity, both notorious and unforgettable. But there was another side to the city. By day, Dongguan was the beating heart of the world's factory, a place where assembly lines never slept, and where global brands built their fortunes on the backs of millions of migrant workers. The golden age of manufacturing. Located between Guangzhou and Shenzhen, just across from Hong Kong, Dongguan became a magnet for foreign investors after China's opening up reforms. Farmland was replaced with sprawling factories. Millions of migrants from poor provinces poured in, turning Dongguan into one of the fastest-growing cities in the Pearl River Delta. By the early 2000s, if you bought a pair of sneakers, a t-shirt, or a cheap toy stamped "Made in China," there was a good chance it came from Dongguan. By the 2010s, the city had become the epicenter of the smartphone revolution. Apple, Samsung, Huawei, Oppo, Vivo all relied on Dongguan's vast supply chains. Foxconn, Luxshare, Flextronics, they all built massive operations there. At its peak, the city produced between 250 and 400 million smartphones every year. The golden years were dazzling. Between 2009 and 2019, Dongguan's GDP grew at an average of 8% annually, hitting 10.2% in 2009 alone. In 2021, the city passed the milestone of 1 trillion yuan in GDP, joining the club of China's richest cities. Its population surged past 10 million, more than 86% of them migrants. To the world, Dongguan was proof that China had risen. To Beijing, it was the perfect showroom of success. And to the workers, it was harsh but steady work. You worked overtime, sent money home, and dreamed of a better life. The first cracks. But beneath the neon glow and factory floor, cracks were forming. Global demand for smartphones began to plateau after 2016. Competition increased. Capital flowed to Southeast Asia and South Asia, where labor was cheaper and politics less fraught. Dongguan, overdependent on a single industry, started to wobble. By 2022, the numbers were alarming. GDP growth was just 0.6%, essentially stagnation. Industrial output dropped nearly 6%. Electronics manufacturing shrank by 5%, electrical machinery by more than 7%. Exports fell by over 11%. For a city where exports once made up more than 80% of the economy, this was a disaster. The trade war that crushed Dongguan. Then came the hammer blow, the US-China trade war. When Washington and Beijing began slapping tariffs on each other in 2018, Dongguan became one of the hardest-hit cities in all of China. This was a place where the foreign trade dependence ratio once reached nearly 300%, meaning Dongguan's economy was not just export-driven, but export-obsessed. Tariffs on electronics, machinery, furniture, and textiles, the lifeblood of Dongguan, sent shockwaves through its factories. Buyers pulled orders. Contracts shifted to Vietnam, India, and Mexico. Foreign invested companies, which had powered Dongguan's boom, quietly left. Taiwanese suppliers packed up. Hong Kong bosses pulled out. Western firms retreated. Between 2018 and 2023, local reports estimated that up to 4 million workers left Dongguan, either laid off or forced to return to their hometowns. The trade war exposed the fragility of the world's factory. For decades, officials celebrated growth numbers, but those numbers were built on a single pillar: foreign orders. When that pillar collapsed, Dongguan had no plan B. What followed was a slow-motion collapse, and by 2025, it was visible everywhere. Factories fall silent, 70 to 80% losing money. On September 5, 2025, a second-hand equipment dealer filmed inside a shuttered injection molding factory in Dalong Township. The factory floor was worn smooth by decades of production, but the machines were silent. He spoke with despair. So many factories are closing. Since August, it just keeps getting worse. Machines are piling up in our warehouse. Nobody wants them. We're selling by the ton as scrap metal. Even brand new CNC machines are sitting here unused. I have no confidence in September. His warehouse was overflowing, aisles crammed with idle equipment, hundreds of machines, no buyers. Across the city, the story was the same. Warehouses stuffed with scrap, factories gone dark, investment interest evaporated. Local estimates now say 70 to 80% of factories in Dongguan and nearby Shenzhen are losing money. Breaking even is considered a victory. On June 25, 2025, Celestica Dongguan SSL, a Canadian electronics manufacturer that had operated for 21 years, closed its doors. Another giant gone. Chang'an, once Dongguan's most prosperous town, known for BBK electronics and sky-high factory rents, is now a ghost. Streets that once bustled with shops and restaurants are lined with for lease signs. Even prime storefronts near the hospital stand empty. One resident, who had lived in Chang'an for 20 years, admitted, "Not even during the pandemic did I see anything like this. Shops, factories, streets, everything is dead." The human cost. The human cost is staggering. Factory owners have fled, leaving workers unpaid. Protests erupt as migrants demand their wages. Others simply vanish into joblessness. In May 2024, a video went viral. Young workers sleeping inside abandoned concrete pipes on the city's edge. They became known as the Rat People. By day, they scavenged bottles or begged for odd jobs. By night, they crawled into pipes to sleep. It was a scene straight from the Great Depression. But it was happening in modern China, in the heart of its industrial core. Beijing's night economy gamble. Faced with collapse, Dongguan's government tried something desperate. According to an Epoch Times article published on July 16th, officials unveiled a plan to revive the night economy on July 14th, 2025. Bars, karaoke clubs, and live performances would get fast-track approvals. The goal, they said, was to activate nighttime consumption power. But within 24 hours, the policy document disappeared, replaced with a 404 error. Why? Because the idea triggered outrage. Many suspected the city was hinting at reviving its old sex trade to prop up spending. Commentators blasted it as drinking poison to quench thirst. Even Hu Shijin, the former editor of the Global Times, stirred controversy when he wrote on Weibo that sexual depression is one reason for weak consumption, and suggested society should not be overly harsh on what counts as erotic. The post went viral and was quickly deleted. Economists and commentators were scathing. Fan Zhizong, a professor of economics at National Taiwan University, explained that Dongguan is a window city. Its slump mirrors China's broader consumption crisis. What China faces, he argued, is a balance sheet recession. Households, businesses, and even local governments are buried in debt, all trying to pay it down. When everyone saves and no one spends, consumption collapses. Tong Jingwan, a veteran commentator now based in the US, went further. He argued that Dongguan's collapse is not a natural disaster but a man-made one, caused by the Chinese Communist Party itself. Xi Jinping's focus on political security over economic reform, his suppression of private enterprise, his hostility toward foreign investment, all have driven entrepreneurs away. Tong said, Dongguan's manufacturing decline is a man-made tragedy. By 2023, Dongguan's GDP growth was just 2.6%. In 2024, it ticked up to 4.6%, still below the national rate of 5%. The city that once grew at double digits now limps along. Estimates say as many as 4 million migrants have already left. The Pearl River Delta's proud industrial powerhouse has become a hollowed-out shell, a window into China's future. So what remains of Dongguan's image today? A decade ago, it shocked China with its sex industry. Today, it shocks again. Not with neon nights, but with silent factories and shuttered streets. The city is no longer the showroom of China's success, but the showroom of its decline. Once fueled by cheap exports, it has been crushed by global shifts. Once reliant on migrant labor, it now cannot provide jobs or dignity. Once held up as a symbol of prosperity, it now floats desperate ideas of reviving sex work just to spark spending. As Tang Jingyuan put it, there is no reasonable path forward. Dongguan's future is China's future, and both are running out of road. What do you think? Can Dongguan reinvent itself? Or is this the final chapter of the world's factory? Leave your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective. Dead wave, 7.5% of China's Gen Z already gone? According to the Vision Times, Chinese social media is awash with alarming claims suggesting a rising wave of sudden deaths among young people. Bloggers are now saying that as many as 7.5% of those born after the year 2000, Generation Z, may already have died. Based on official population figures, that would mean more than 11 million deaths in just 2 decades. The figure cannot be independently verified, but it has triggered widespread shock and debate. One Douyin user calculated that 147 million people were born after 2000, while only 136 million remain. Other posts have gone further, comparing mortality across generations, nearly 5% among the post-1980s, over 17% among the post-teen 90s, and 7.5% for today's Gen Z. Netizens reacted with disbelief, asking, how can more 00s be gone than 80s? Some openly accused authorities of concealing the truth. The discussion has gained momentum because it echoes tragedies that have already made headlines. In recent years, 4 young influencers were killed in car crashes. A well-known anti-cancer girl named Zhang Yuting lost her battle with leukemia, and 20-year-old singer and actress Shilin died abroad. Mainland media have also reported students collapsing in dormitories, young teachers passing away suddenly, and internet personalities dying from illness. Even voices from within the funeral industry are sounding the alarm. A blogger working in burial services claimed that in just 3 years, the number of corpses under 30 has tripled. He said most of them looked 70% healthy. Other funeral workers describe a sharp rise in sudden heart attacks among people in their 20s and 30s. The concern is deepened by new scenes emerging from across China. Videos posted from Taiwan in Shanxi province showed hospitals overwhelmed in the early hours of the morning. Emergency rooms were packed, with hundreds of patients, children, pregnant women, and young adults, waiting for treatment. Hospitals in Hebei, Ningxia, Tianjin, and Shanxi reported similar spikes, many involving children struggling with severe asthma and requiring oxygen support. Authorities insisted the cause was thunderstorm asthma, triggered by pollen and mold, stirred up by stormy weather. but many citizens remain skeptical, pointing out that true thunderstorm asthma is usually localized, not seen across multiple provinces at the same time. Meanwhile, official statistics appear troubling. In Zhejiang's Jiaojiang district, births in 2023 totaled just over 3,300, while deaths reached more than 4,200. In Shanghai, Shenzhen, and several other cities, government websites confirm the quiet expansion of funeral homes and cremation facilities. Health experts warn that multiple viruses continue to circulate, with COVID-19 ranking as China's most reported infectious disease for 4 consecutive months. Online videos show overcrowded hospitals, deserted towns, empty shopping malls, and growing accounts of young people dying suddenly. Given Beijing's long history of concealing sensitive data, many in China fear the true scale of the crisis may never be revealed, and that the actual numbers could be far more shocking. What is clear is that public anxiety is rising, not only about the mortality of the young, but about the possibility of a new virus or a resurgence of the old one, silently spreading once again. That's all for today's episode. If you found this story insightful, share your thoughts in the comment section and let us know what you think about the topic. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks for staying tuned. We'll see you next time.